Every year, I get excited to talk about my favorite new games. The hot releases, the buzz, the shiny stuff. But this video is probably my second favorite video to make each year. These are my top 6 new to me board games of 2025. What's up, Brew Crew? Welcome back to the channel. So, none of these games came out in 2025. Some of them are modern classics, some of them have been sitting on the shelves for years, and one of them I genuinely can't believe it took me this long to play. These are games that I played for the first time in 2025 and immediately understood why people love them. I will say that with only one exception, there were no real surprises on the list this year. I went into most of these games already assuming that I was going to like them, but you never really know. The reason this is one of my favorite lists to make is because it's a reminder that great games don't expire. They just patiently wait for you to finally give them a shot. All right, let's get into it. Coming in at number 6 is Cryo. This is that one exception that I mentioned in the intro to this video. I admit I was a little hesitant to try this one because I had heard that it was a pretty mean game. And I don't mind a little aggression depending on the game, but I tend to dislike games where someone can knock you down if you've been working so hard to build something up. To me, that doesn't add tension, it just adds frustration, which I don't find enjoyable. And I won't lie to you, you can be kind of a jerk in this one. But I think because of the theme and the way that the interaction was implemented, it really works in Cryo. Basically, you've crash landed on a frozen planet, and your only hope to save your team is to get them underground before night falls, because once it does, everyone on the surface will freeze to death. Mechanically, this is a really compelling mix of area control, worker placement, and multi-use cards, all wrapped up in a very intense game. Above ground, you are competing for limited spaces and resources, trying to position yourself before conditions become too dangerous. Underground is where the real scoring happens, and figuring out when to retreat and secure your progress is at the heart of the game. The interaction can be mean and can feel a little bit targeted at times, but there are plenty of opportunities for payback. And in this game, it ended up feeling more fun than frustrating. The decisions are crunchier than they first appear, and the theme comes through as the sun sets slowly and you know that your time is limited. Cryo feels focused, tense, and purposeful, a really strong discovery and a great way to start this list. At number 5, we have the Prodigals Club. And this one was such a fun game with a great theme. I've been a fan of Last Will for years, and since this is a sequel of sorts, I've really been looking forward to trying this game for quite a while. The Prodigals Club is all about losing. Losing money, losing influence, losing popularity. You are actively trying to be bad at things, just not in the same way as everyone else. What makes this game work is how brilliantly the game forces you into these awkward decisions. Every turn you are choosing which areas of your life you are going to sabotage. On top of losing your money, you're also trying your best to offend the upper class and also piss off the voters. Within the confines of this board game, though, that's all easier said than done as you begin running out of time to do everything that you want to do. And that tension never lets up. It's funny and it's clever without being overwhelming. You start the game laughing at the absurdity of it all, and by the end you are staring at the board thinking, okay, how do I lose slightly better than everyone else? This is a game that feels incredibly smart despite its silliness. Number 4 is Tigris and Euphrates. And yes, I know, how have you not played this before? I don't have a good answer for you. Tigris and Euphrates is one of those games that gets talked about in hushed, reverent tones. It's often called one of the greatest board games of all time. And after finally playing it, I get why it's so loved. This game is brutal in a very elegant way. The core idea is simple. Build civilizations, score in 4 different colors, and fight internal and external conflicts. But the way that those systems collide creates moments of pure tension that few games can match. The scoring alone is genius. You are only as strong as your weakest color, which means that you can never afford to ignore any part of the game. This has become a really popular scoring mechanism, and Tigris Euphrates was one of the first to do it. Every decision has ripple effects, and mistakes aren't just punished, they're remembered. There's no fluff here, no excess, just razor-sharp design that creates interaction naturally without needing special powers or asymmetry. It's not a flashy game, it's not friendly, but it's absolutely brilliant, and I'm very glad that it finally found its way onto my table. At number 3 is the Guild of Merchant Explorers. On the surface, it looks like a fairly relaxed exploration game. You're expanding across a map, opening up new areas, and unlocking bonuses as you go. But what makes this game special is how fast and how clean it is. Everyone is working with the same limited set of actions, and you're trying to squeeze just a little bit more efficiency out of your turn than your opponents. It feels almost puzzle-like, without ever slowing down. The reset between rounds is such a clever touch. It gives the game a rhythm, expand, reset, expand again, and forces you to think about when to push forward versus when to consolidate. There's also a really satisfying sense of progression. Your options grow, your reach expands, and by the end of the game you feel like you've built something meaningful, even though the rules overhead is surprisingly light. And this is something that I really appreciate in games: deep strategy without overly complex rules. This is the kind of game that I can teach quickly, play with just about anyone, and still enjoy it at a high level. And that's a really rare sweet spot. Coming in at number 2 is Nightmare Productions, another game on this list from the good Dr. Reiner Knizia. Nightmare Productions is a theme that is right up my alley. Old Hollywood horror. You are working to make the best, or possibly the worst, horror movies. This is a brilliant auction game with a closed economy. Each round you are bidding on creatures, props, and settings that you'll use to fulfill the recipes needed to complete each movie. The winning bid for each tile will be distributed amongst the other players, so losing out on a tile earns you money. So you have to be smart about when to bid high or when to let a tile go so that you can build up your money for another auction. As you win these auctions, you'll take these tiles that you've won and place them on these little movie strips, trying to fill them in with all of the necessary production components. Each tile has a star value, which will help determine the quality of the movies that you create. You'll earn points based on that rating, and there are also awards for the best movie in a few different categories, and there's also an award for the worst movie as well. I never had the opportunity to play any of this game's predecessors, but being a horror fan, I was especially excited to try this one out. It's interactive, dramatic, and full of moments where you can tell the story of the movies that you're making. Nightmare Productions is fun, fast, and genuinely a blast to play. And that's why it landed so high on this list. And my number 1 new-to-me game of 2025 is also the newest game on this list, released in 2024. It is SETI, The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This game completely blew me away. It's big, it's complex, it's ambitious, and it all works so seamlessly. From the moment you start, you feel like you're part of something larger. Scanning the skies, analyzing data, launching probes, and slowly uncovering signs that we might not be alone. What impressed me most is how thematic every system feels. You're not just collecting resources, you're gathering data. You're not just scoring points, you're making discoveries. The game rewards long-term planning, but it also leaves room for adaptability. You can specialize, pivot, and respond to new information as it emerges. And when those alien species are discovered, they each change up the game in such a cool way. It's definitely a heavier game, and it definitely demands attention, but the payoff is absolutely worth it. SETI feels like a design that trusts the players, trusts them to engage, to learn, and to appreciate the journey that it takes them on. And for me, it was one of those rare experiences where as soon as the game ended, I wanted to play it again. Not necessarily to win, but just to explore a different path. And that's something pretty special. So those are my top 6 new to me games of 2025. Games that remind me why this hobby is so great. Not because they're new, but because they're good. If there's one takeaway here, it's this. Don't be afraid to go back and explore the classics or the games that you somehow missed the first time around. You never know which one might become a new favorite. Let me know in the comments, what is a game that you played way later than everyone else and you immediately fell in love with? And do you have a favorite new to you game from 2025? If you enjoyed this video, consider liking, hyping, and subscribing, all that good YouTube stuff. It really does help. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, let's get another round for the table.